Hi, this is Adam Fiore with Chandler Limited, coming to you from the Pensado's Place Vintage King Gear Expo in Nashville 2016. And today we're showing off the TG microphone cassette from our EMI Abbey Road Studios Historic Series. This features a TG2 preamp coupled with a curve bender EQ section and a fully independently patchable TG1 opto limiter. This is the TG1 in opto form. It has an opto detector in it, and you have sharp and rounded knees. Sharp is definitely going to be more of your drum crusher, stuff you're typically recognizing out of a TG1. And then the rounded knee you're going to use on more melodic sources, vocals, maybe finger picking guitar, those type of things. And very, very powerful all the way around. You can bypass the unit. It is set up like the original consoles, so this hold, not to be confused with the hold setting on the RS-124, the hold up here allows you to set the amount of compression prior to compressing, and then you drive the input however you want. Curve bender EQ has a treble and bass shelf, 8.1K, 91 Hertz. You can bypass the EQ. You have a switchable mid-band, and you have 5 frequencies here from 6.5 down to 300K, and then you can actually switch the mid-band out but keep the treble and bass in, so you can actually have that going. And then you have an output fader here, master output fader for the preamp EQ section. The preamp is set up just like the TG2500 and the original consoles, where you had a coarse gain and a variable fine gain, which allows you to dial in just the right amount of saturation or color that you'd like. We also added the rumble filter, which is their version of a low cut, but it's a little bit more than that. When you engage it, it has a musical effect on the box, and it'll actually sort of change the whole curve of the box, so it's not just a low cut. And you can actually use it in combination with the EQ, where you might be cutting down here, low cutting at 110 and then boosting at 91 here. Very, very powerful. And you have a DI, you can use it in line, you can get a pair of these and use them on your mix bus. Guys are out there doing that. And you have phase and phantom power. XLR IOs on the back, independent XLR IO for the TG1 opto. We also are showing the RS-124s, the famous and mysterious boxes from Abbey Road. These again from our EMI Abbey Road Studios Historic Series. These were pretty much used on the entire, they predated the Beatles at Abbey Road Studios. They were used basically on the entire catalog, anything that was recorded there. These were designed in 1959, went into service in 1960 at the studio. They quickly became the most popular compressor at the studios, even more popular than the Fairchild 660s that came on later. And you would commonly find 2 of these in virtually every room at the studio. They used them on tracking, rhythm buses, and mastering. Very, very powerful units. You can compress heavily, getting it down, plus 20, 30 dB of compression, and you don't have the artifacts of typical compression. They don't sound muffled. They don't sound like you've got a pillow over the vocal or the source. They retain the clarity and attack of the note, and it's almost like compression isn't happening, but has this wonderful flavor and color or tone to the entire box. And then below that, we have the Red 47 mic amplifiers. The Red .47s were out of the Red 51 consoles at Abbey Road. That was the last tube console that they built before they went to the TG or transistorized consoles in 1968. These tube preamps essentially were the all-purpose line amplifier for the Red 51 console. And prior to that, the Red 37 and the Red 17 consoles, they had used or relied on Telefunken V72s, the V72S, which was modified for 200 ohms impedance. When in 1958 they started to lay out what would be the design for or conceive the Red 51 console, their final tube console, they ended up deciding, you know what, these Telefunkens are kind of expensive, and we have our own ideas of what we think the preamp should sound like, and that's where they conceived of the Red 47. Completely different circuit design apart from the tubes from the Telefunken V72. And they have a very punchy sound, but also remain hi-fi. They were doing obviously orchestras and rock and roll stuff like the Beatles, so they had to be able to be quite versatile. They have a rumble filter, again, very, very powerful, musical. You engage the rumble filter and you're not just cutting the low, you're affecting sort of the higher end curve of the box as well. And you have this voltage gain here, which gets you up to 52 dB there, and then additional plus and minus 5 dB of gain here in single dB increments, and this allows you to sort of dial in the color the way you'd want to. There's guys out there using a pair of these on mix bus, as well as using them for typical mic amplifier duties. You can use them in line mode by turning down the gain, engaging the pad, and then maybe turning down from your DAW a little bit as well. Or you can simply overdrive them by forcing more input, hotter dBFS level from your DAW into it as well. You have the pad, as we spoke about. You have an output fader, so you can drive them up and turn it down if you want to get nice distortion and saturation. The pole is your phase reverse, and then you've got 48 volt phantom power. And the DI is absolutely stunning. Probably one of the best bass DIs on the planet. If you haven't tried one of these, you need to try it, and you need to go through the bass DI, or use the DI for your bass. So in a nutshell, that's it.
Right.